Welcome to another episode of Cubeman on YouTube. Welcome back if you saw some of my other installments, or just plain welcome if this is your first time. Today I'm going to show you something that I just learned how to do. I drew a scene with pastels. Oh, I've used pastels before, but this time I blended the colors with mineral oil. The effect was amazing. It almost looks like I legit painted it. I should start by saying I have a problem with color. I have congenital red-green color blindness. Other words for this include daltonism and deuteranopia. In lay terms, this means I have trouble distinguishing between certain shades of red and green. I notice this most often when the shades are less saturated. This is important to remember because a lot of people get it wrong. Whenever I say I'm colorblind, people assume I can't see any colors at all, like my whole world looks like a 1950s TV sitcom. I see blues and yellows just fine, and yes, I do see reds and greens. They don't look black, white, or gray to me. I just sometimes have trouble telling the less saturated shades of those colors apart. That's it. That's literally it. It's not even that rare. 6% of all men are red-green colorblind. I mean, 9% of all men in my country have diabetes, so it shouldn't freak out anybody that my girlfriend's red shoes look brown to me. This leads to some funny situations. When I was a teenager, a girl I knew asked me in front of our friends what color I thought her hair was. I said, bleached. She said, he's not colorblind. Well, I am colorblind, but her hair really was bleached. Or dyed badly, whatever. Also, more than one guy I know said he'd be afraid to be in a car with me if I was driving. Yeah, about that. Traffic lights are always arranged from top to bottom and left to right, red, yellow, then green. Some jurisdictions even use shapes: red square, yellow diamond, green circle. The yellow diamond even looks like a yield sign, except those are usually triangles. I was taught this in driving school. Weren't you? And besides, the red and yellow in traffic lights are usually so saturated that I have no trouble seeing the distinction between them. The green sometimes looks white to me, but since it's the only white light on a traffic signal, I know it means I can go. I have a lot more trouble here in Montreal with drivers who ignore traffic lights, or who drive like assholes in general. And when I visit family in Toronto, I have to deal with people who make right turns on a red light. Some drivers do that here. When I see someone making a right on a red in Montreal and nearly killing a pedestrian or a cyclist, the car almost always has an Ontario license plate. So yeah, my deuteranopia is amusing, but it's not a handicap. Anyway, let's get on with the video. A color pastel pseudo-painting. Check out the links in the description for this video to see some more work like this and in other styles as well. Ready? Let's go! First, the base colors. Notice there's no pencil sketch again. I chose to be bold again. Go me! It might seem strange that I'm rubbing white pastels onto white paper. Trust me though, this will factor in when we get to the blending later on. I added yellow ochre and chrome yellow next. There's some overlap between the yellow ochre on top of the white, and some more overlap of the chrome yellow on top of the ochre. The next stripe, filling the bottom of the image, is a base layer of cobalt blue. This is my favorite color. You can see it overlap just a bit with the yellow. I laid some red directly on top of the cobalt blue. I used a light touch here. Now we get oily. I put just a few drops of mineral oil onto a cotton swab. I rubbed it into the pastels. This smoothed it out. No graininess left. Even if there were spots on the page that were not completely covered with the pastels, the oil spread it out. I think this is because the mineral oil is an oil and the pastels are soluble in it. Anyway, you can see the pastel white blending with the ochre. That's why I put the white pastels down first. I bet this looks great when you want to make highlights pop. And now the ochre blending with the yellow, and just a bit of the yellow blending with the ground. I think it's a beautiful gradient. A new color space to blend means a new cotton swab with a fresh drop of mineral oil. Here, the colors were laid on top of each other, so the blend mixes the red and the blue to make a purple. Only it's not a perfect purple. There were spots of blue with no red on top of it. There were spots of red with no blue under it. I even left tiny specks of white. The result is an uneven, textured surface of purple with blue and red highlights. And I like it like that. And right where it meets the yellow, the colors blend even more to make the horizon hazy. Just like you'd see a horizon with the naked eye in real life if it was far enough away. Okay, the background is done. Let's look at how I made the foreground elements. I made the tentacles with a yellow-green pastel. I now realize working them over with an oily cotton swab was a mistake. Remember what I said earlier about the pastels being soluble in mineral oil? That's a fancy way to say mineral oil dissolves pastels. I should have feathered them gently from the edges alone and sideways. Instead, I made the tentacles transparent. It's a cool effect, but not what I intended. I tried to fill in those transparent parts with more pastel pigment. That looked better. But I just had to ruin it by applying more oil to them. Dumb. Transparent again. I contemplated the errors of my ways while blending the bottoms of the tentacles to the purple ground. This worked out a bit better. A black pastel for the stick figure. This part I didn't up. I oiled the guy. I did this with a bit more care. This made him hazy and undefined. Given the subject matter of the graphic novel that I'm working on, this is not so bad. Back to filling in the tentacles and ruining them with oil again. When will I ever learn? This is where I decided to stop. So there we have it. Our main character now stands in a psychedelic, surreal hellscape. What are your thoughts? Put them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow Cubeman on my other socials to see more art. I'll see you in the next one. Be well.